So I've got to say, the obvious big one I'm waiting for is the LCK. Because, mate, the T1 drama, even without that, it would have been spicy. The T1 drama with that, I told you they can't win, mate. Like, if it goes great with Gumayusi, then all the Smash fans are mad. If it goes shit, then all the Smash fans are mad. Bro, this is good. The drama. In theory, I was ready to be over T1, mate. But if you go back now, remember, Hanwha Life, they're supposed to be the best team in the world. GenG, they have to do the bounce back and justify that super roster. I actually think, by the way, the most underrated one, the one's always forgotten, is D+. D+ for real. There was times where they looked like the best, if not the second best team. I even think the way they lost, they still played well. Like that's a team I'm spicy. I think I'm a great. I actually think right now people think I'm an LPL glazer. The LPL I thought was a little bit more like subdued this last bit. I'm backing on LCK, mate. The top of the LCK is amazing because remember, when the year began, it went like this, Yamato. GenG super team, T1 maybe scuffed it, but you still thought they'd be like top 3. Then you had not D+, then it was obviously the Hanwha Life angle. Then after that, people threw in, well, let's see what D+ do. Let's see what KT does. Can Fear XP4? Mate, now you go and look at it. If T1 is going to be vaguely competitive, mate, the top 4 or 5 is bagging in the LCK now. This is going to be fun, mate. I'm looking forward to this.
I'm with you. I like LCK. I'm usually I am the one to argue for like how LPL parity and how difficult it is because of how many teams it is and the format and like the fucking everything, the hellfire you need to get through to even qualify, because like I remember those playoffs where like LNG made it through, Bilibili made it through, like before they of course got Knight and so forth. Like these were extremely competitive circumstances, and it was very difficult to win the LPL. And usually in LCK it was like 2 teams that just ran everything. They met each other in the final very often. There were moments where like T1 looked like shaky, but then KT picked them at the wrong time and they just lose 3-2 back to back. But now it's like LCK across the board. Just looks like the most competitive and strongest region by far. It's like it's always the same conversation. It's like T1 had beat LPL, but LPL beat LCK. That's been the trend at international tournaments, and it's been a painful thing to always argue against. But now, considering where T1 ended last split, I don't know what would have happened in the fucking T1 lore if they actually beat Hanwha Life on that day. Because let's say they would have gone the same journey, what would have played out? Because that game was so incredibly close. They had like that game-ending push where probably if they play better, they can even end, or they could just simply go to Nashor. They almost won a game with a draft with Zoe Akali against the fucking Olaf. And Hanwha Life, their story and the everything, the perspective on the whole fucking thing would have just been completely fucking different. And I think I have very high hopes for T1 because it seemed like they kind of hit a stride and they figured out how they wanted to play. Thorin was looking a lot better. Keria was looking fantastic with Smash. Faker was having a pretty fucking good split. And Owner was just dominating together with Faker, waiting for everything else to fall into place. And then finally they took Hanwha Life to 5 games. So T1 as a team and a concept. The weird thing is, it's like everything is with an asterisk. Like we've covered it so fucking extensively in the first segment, but I have no clue what the fuck is gonna go down. Even in a world where, like, even if they win the whole fucking split, everyone's gonna be like, "Oh, this coaching staff needs to be gone," because they wanted Gumayusi out and they want the split.
No, you can't win. Exactly.
It's just completely doomed. But from a gameplay standpoint, like I do think that they should be competitive. I just don't know how internally from a competitive side. I don't know how awkward the room is. Sure, they play with Gumayusi a lot and super much, but if it was like a lot of the fans just assume that this benching happened for no reason. It's like they get like 1%, one little tidbit of information because they don't want to reveal too much. And obviously like a coach like Mata, Koma, they don't spend too much time fucking, doing PR posts where they throw people under the bus. They're focused on, working and making sure that the team functions well. And obviously these fucking names you trust in their process. And now there's been a wrench thrown into that process. And hopefully, from a competitive side, hopefully Gumayusi works out. Fearless is going to continue. Lanes are back, which should be a positive thing for Gumayusi and, of course, Keria. But in an ideal world, if I look at it from a competitive standpoint, it's like you want to go out the first initial games, you load up Gumayusi, You make him play his Caitlyn, his Varus, and then when these are out, and then you scale into like the Zeri cases and the Kaiser cases, this is where you throw in Smash. But are they going to be even afraid to do that? Because we have had conversations about 6-man rosters and how interesting they can be in a fearless scenario. This could have been one of those cases. It's like Koma is the legend that has done this and executed this in a way where he kept winning while doing so, even though from outside I'll be like, bro, I want to see Faker play. Fuck off, man. Like, what are you doing? Like, I was that guy, I was that guy. And I was angry, that Easy Hoon was getting games because this was like Faker at his peak, But maybe this is what pushed him. He has internal information. This is what pushed him to do better. Maybe this pissed him off just the right way. And now it's like, are they going to be allowed to play Smash and Gumayushi off each other? Are they going to be just afraid of doing any action? Will they do the actions that will make them competitively sound? This is like my main concern, because I was very hopeful after last split, and with the removal of lane swaps, I thought they're going to just get better, but now not so sure.
By the way, just to really make the T1 fans mad, I'm not saying this just to make you mad. That's just a delicious added bonus. But actually, after seeing how Zeus played in Fearless, I actually do think if you'd have kept Zeus on T1, and even if you'd used Smash, I think you would have won the LCK and it would have won first hand. It would have actually been your nightmare alternate world that you wish you lived in, but you don't. I actually, because I'm with you, they could have even beaten Handball Life with the lineup they had. And if they win that, by the way, the whole playoffs is wide open there. Who even knows? Maybe D+ wins it then, maybe GenG. Who the fuck? Maybe T1 does. They actually were playing very well against a lot of teams. Also, I'll go to this angle too. This is one area where another weird thing LS said when he was commenting on the Joe Marsh criticism is he said something like, do you think Joe Marsh doesn't know things you don't know about, why they are putting a player in? He meant putting Gumayushi back in. But I would again spin it back on LS and go, bro, do you think Koma and them benched Gumayushi for no reason? Because that was a weird thing that fans did get very emotional, the Gumayushi and the ZOFGK fans was. Their whole thing, if you remember, was they framed it like, oh, and he was taken out of the lineup even though he's a world champion, and then they didn't let him scrim. It's like, they don't just do that for no reason. Think it through, guys. They just signed him in this fucking off-season. They just signed him again to a new contract, and they want to market around him if he can play. You don't bench that player for no reason, mate. That even implies to me, I'm going to purely speculate because I have to here, I don't know what's going on. That implies to me something like either one, this is like that famous split when we had Funnel and Reckless was self-benched. It implies one, in scrims you're just not good at the current meta, something's throwing you off about it, or you can't get into it and get into your sweet spot. Or even worse, this is something people don't want to hear, but maybe you even, remember you have just won Worlds, you have just signed a contract, maybe you had a diva moment. Maybe Gumayushi had some moment where he didn't want to practice as much, or he hinted a scrim, or you can't even know. These are all things we'll never find out, because as you say, especially in Korea, it'd be outrageous to say this stuff publicly. You just keep it internally, you just say, hey, trust the coach. We know what we're doing. So I would just say the same thing. I think fans are being really weird because they're almost acting like someone in T1 like Joe Marsh just is an idiot and woke up one day just bench Gumayushi. What? No. I trust that there was a good reason, not least because I'm just going to say this. I have an eye. When they put Smash in, it looked really good. I actually get why they played him. Spoiler, that means that I can't know how they would have played with Gumayushi, but it looked like they were right. They actually had a player who looked really fucking good, especially for his first LCK split. It was looking dynamite. He was not at all the reason I saw that Animal Life. He's the reason they lost. Because that's the other thing those fans were doing, Yamato. In the same way as when T1 wins Worlds, they think we can't ever argue anymore. Because we won Worlds, so we're number one. It's T1's never been number one these 2 years they won Worlds. They won Worlds, but they weren't number one in the year. There was always a better team. But I will say, if you're going to say that, they're being consistent, but I hate it the other way too. So now because they came sixth, that's Smash. Bro, how does this work? If Faker wins Worlds, he's the GOAT. But if he comes sixth, that's because Smash did something bad. Why does Faker... Surely if he gets the credit, he gets the blame. In this scenario, they just took the logic of... to be fair, I guess Thorin actually should be glad Smash exists. It would have been him getting blamed otherwise, like I said. They just blamed... Their logic was cause Guma wasn't there. That's why we finished sixth. First of all, by the way, the format's 90% of why you finished sixth. Completely now, because we know you end up playing the best team in the world in the fucking in the elimination round with no double elim. And then also, I'll actually tie that into something else, Yamato. You probably didn't notice this, because I just clicked and saw it myself. This playoffs has a different format in the LCK. Click it. What they've done is combine them. Before it was an opening round, then a double elim. Now there's an upper bracket match for the top two seeds, and then a gauntlet for the lower.
Ooh.
So that's interesting. So number one, number two seed play an upper bracket match, and then the lower bracket is the old gauntlet of 6 plays 5, then the winner plays 4, then the winner plays 3, and then, depending on what happens there. And then, It's quite interesting, right? It's different. They're tweaking it. They're messing with it. By the way, I do wonder. That's actually the bigger drama I would wonder. Is like, I wonder if LCK themselves sort of realised that last format was a bit fucked last split. Because I do think that format was outrageous, where basically T1 didn't really do much wrong and then just had to play Animal Life in one round. And then because they lost, they were out. Like that, I still don't really understand that, because the obvious joke is, even though I memed on Twitter, no, I don't actually think Nongshim are better than T1. Like, obviously not. But the format meant Nongshim got to just fucking, lol, we're in the playoffs. So, like, they were never going to win any matches. So, like, this format looks better. It looks interesting, though, because it's some sort, like I said, some sort of weird blend of the two. Because I did used to think back in the day, the one downside of the gauntlet, which I'm not a fan of, Yamato, we have the same thing in Counter-Strike, actually. If you ever watch like Blast or ESL, if you win your group, you skip straight to the semis. You don't play the quarterfinal match. Now, the reason I don't like that is, even though, yeah, you're one of the best teams because you won your group, and this might sound weird, but part of why I watch sports and games is to watch great players even own the bad teams. Like, I don't want Michael Jordan to skip to the conference finals. I want him to play the first round. And if in the first round he donks on them, I don't know about you, but I'm here for that. So if you're the best team in the LCK, I don't really want you to be in the upper bracket match, win one match and be in the final. That's the one downside. I still want you to play all the matches. I used to think the great thing about the last format, by the way, not the one in winter, but last year's, was I thought that playoff format was very good. Once you were in the top four, it's like the LPL, you got mega amount of game series. Like, that's why you had all those baller, like, you know, there's times where T1 won the upper bracket final, but then GenG came with over and won from the lower bracket. I thought that was actually very good for the amount of matches you got. You really got a real sense of who's good, who isn't. By the way, it means that, like, unlike this one, the regular season placing doesn't like insanely over what do you say, like skew your final result, that you can still be like the second best team in this scenario. But I have to say it, I'm not as big a fan of this one. I preferred last year's format.
I'm happy that it's used for MSI, because at least you have a team that needs to, of course, we've seen the variants of LCK format where they did like the full gauntlet and the number one team made a finals right away. This was like the Griffin era where they just lost every best of five they ever played. They would dominate, but they would always lose every best of five. It was just fucking painful. Like they just their best of five track record was like Viteo level, just not winning anything in BO5s. I think it's cool in the fact that you need to win a BO5 to actually make MSI. But the format is just, I guess that the playoff format is just an extension of what we have in Europe, right? It's like the number one team play a best of five to make the finals, and then you have like the gauntlet kind of appearing. I do think it's cool that there is weight added to the fact that like your region, like your regular season placement is important, but we also know through that things are going to be determined quite early, unless they cleverly schedule like a big ramp up where they don't put like the big matches like T1 versus D+, T1 versus GenG early. It's like you want all of the drama at the end, where like every match is going to matter and it's going to determine like the placements of everyone in top four. If they do some clever maneuvering, the entertainment value can be really, really big. But if we get those matches early, like we sometimes had in like fucking in China and so forth, where it's like, oh, Top East was played Bilibili second week, and now we have to wait 9 weeks for them to potentially play a BO5. Great, man, great, fucking fantastic. Considering it's like BO3 single round robin, going to have a lot of fucking games. I do think there is something that they can do. But I agree with the sentiments. Like, I just want to see more games between, you know, I just want to see more volume from the best teams. I'm all for that. I'm all for that, for sure.
And then they do also have that weird thing, which I don't even really understand, so I'm not going to get too into it, which is if you go on Wikipedia, they also show that in the placements, if you come top 5, you go to the Road to MSI Legend group, or you go to like the Rise group below, which almost sounds like some LPL shit. I don't even know what that is. That sounds like they're just trying to do a version of the LPL for like the split after that or something the next round.
It is, yeah.
Okay.
It's basically the same thing. The seeding phase of Road to MSI is into this too.
Why does it have to be so quick? Guys, can we just have it where it's like you beat the team in front of you, you're in the next one? Why is it so complicated? Why do I need a degree to figure out what's going on with like the fucking format, bro? It's getting too hard. Remember, we're all nerds and fucking lazy people. I don't want to do homework to find out how the format works. Also, what is going on in Asia with English language? Why is the shit group called the Rise group? Remember, Rise is even like one of the most beloved world songs. Rise, remember that world song. It's better than Little Nas, whatever. It is what it is. So I don't get, why are we doing this group thing? What is this? What is this, bro?
Bro, they're just trying to artificially make the best teams play against each other. We are slowly moving into like one league from we're slowly moving into EWC format for the whole thing. They're like, bro, we need to find ways to have GenG play T1 more and more and more. This is all we need.
Oh, mate, basically, I will say the thing I appreciate is they're sort of doing my dream of esports, which is you don't even have like play-ins and wildcards, because why would you ever give a chance for a team you actually like to lose to some shit you don't give a fuck about? Let's just have them all play let's just kick all the bad teams out of all the really good teams, just play each other. Yeah, just be greedy, be an elitist.
And that's why, but the road to MSI format also makes sense, because it's like if you in the regular season over a long period of time you're consistent, you make it into the upper group. Yeah. And then it's like all the good teams in theory get 2 chances, right? Everyone does, but it's like the odds of you failing all the best of 3s and then the lower playoff bracket. And it's like if by some fucking crazy scenario T1 doesn't make it into that side, that would just be like very, very implausible. So they've set themselves up in a way where they're almost guaranteeing that the top 5 teams are going to be the cool ones, for sure.
Plus, that would actually be a really inappropriate time for Faker to be associated with Rise. Listen, it's a really old boomer joke, and it's a pun. So I probably shouldn't make jokes about 2015 Worlds. A lot of people were like 4 years old at the time or whatever. So it's all good. A lot of T1 fans now, what's he talking about? Rise? Didn't even play Rise. That's Stein B. It's like, whatever, look it up. It was a joke. It was an all right joke. It wasn't even a good one. It was an all right joke. The secret, by the way, I learned a long time ago in broadcast work is if you say it's a shit joke first, it lowers the expectations and then people are allowed to laugh. See more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, be a pleb and don't.